Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be doing my 14.12 support tier list. So if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. There were a couple of changes to the support role this patch. We saw buffs towards Yuumi and Karma. Both these champions have obviously been underperforming for a bit. In Karma's case, this is like her third or fourth buff in a row. They've really tried to push for her to be a bit more of an enchanter rather than being a poke mage, really amping up her E-shielding. In Yuumi's case, she's just been bad for a long time. They're buffing her up, giving her a bit of love, making it so she's not as troll to pick within most team comps. Ashe obviously has been indirectly nerfed because of ADC, but she was a pick already at the bottom of the support tier list, something I would really recommend avoiding unless you're like peak GM, like high master GM challenger. You're really comfortable playing lane bullies, have strong knowledge of the champion, strong macro, stuff like this, which are all very important with the pick. And then we saw enough to Blitzcrank. It's done a bit. Obviously, taking down someone's base health does hurt them quite a bit. In Blitzcrank's case, it probably hurts him more than most, as he is very reliant on his health bar to kind of trade and be a solid frontline unit. So let's go for the tier list. To begin with, we have Twitch and MF. Both these champions are solid D-tier options. They're not moving even with big buffs for if they were to receive big buffs in the support role. These champions have obviously been underperforming for a while. It tends to just be their AP variants which see play here. But yeah, both picks relatively bad at the moment. Well, Misfortune is being buffed in 14.13, but not enough for really the support role to ever thrive with. Malphite, of course, tends to be very much just picked with Yasuo as like a for fun combo. He's not great, obviously reliant on his ultimate. He can kind of trade with Q. It's not unplayable, but something I would recommend just avoiding for the most part. Veigar, a mage option. There are better ones which can fit in this role a bit more consistently. Veigar is just something I'd recommend avoiding. Yeah, there's just better options for the most part. Hui also kind of falls into a similar bracket. He's actually not as bad as Veigar. Definitely has some merits within his kit. Just tends to be a bit harder to pilot and tends to find himself within the D tier as well. And then Ashe, of course, or belongs alongside MF and Twitch at this point. Really low win rate for like solo, I mean just across the board in solo queue. Once again, you need a lot of knowledge on macro and like being a lane bully and just asserting that pressure around the map. But yeah, she belongs in the D tier. Moving on to the C tier, so Yuumi gets promoted. She is now an non-troll option. Like you can find success with this pick with certain pairings. I've been trying it with the likes of the Lucian and Zeri. I'm not particularly great at either of these champions, but there's definitely functionality with these picks. Obviously, Lucian, it's to cycle his passive consistently. Gives her a stronger lane partner to work with. Obviously, the buffs were targeted more towards early game. Yuumi is already an incredibly aggressive late game skewed champion, so it definitely does help her get towards those late game points. Solid pairings, obviously. Zeri, Lucian, Tristana, I believe, also someone which can work quite nicely with Yuumi, even if it doesn't sound that great on paper. But yeah, Yuumi jumps up to the C tier. Still, once again, very limited by her pairings. If you pick a bad pairing with Yuumi, you are really going to suffer in lane. Alongside Yuumi, we have Swain and Senna. So in Swain's case, he's been bad for a while. Obviously, his support is probably his worst role out of like mid and APC. There isn't much you can really do in terms of like build iteration. Obviously, Rylai tends to be pretty core first option, and then you tend to see some like tank oriented builds. I can't speak today. And then you can go like AP as well, and amongst that, obviously, Leandri tends to work quite nicely. Zonya, a very solid Swain item, but he just doesn't have the gold income he really needs within the support role, and if you ever fall behind, you're just useless within the game. In Senna's case, she's been on the decline for a while. In 14.13, this champion will be towards the bottom of the C tier. Tends to be really punishable by a lot of the hook champs in the meta at the moment, which are relatively popular. Nautilus, Fresh, Leona's pretty good into Senna, Blitzcrank obviously really good into Senna, Pyke really good into Senna. She can function against some of the enchanters, but she's also really squishy, so she can be bursted down. She's just really underperforming. Yeah, opportunity being enough for ranged champions will really hard from 14.13, and she will be one of the worst supports in the game. Like, that's just how it is now. This champion is really suffering at the moment. Moving on to the B tier, we have Karma moving up. So Karma is definitely in a better spot now. She really benefited from the buffs she just received, the E being stronger on both the R cast and just as a cast ability. They're trying to push her more towards this, give her a stronger late game as being a more solid enchanter option. She still primarily wants like your Malignance, your Imperial Mandate. You want to be a solid harass kind of unit, champion early on into the game. That is where you can exert a lot of pressure. Obviously, your harass with Q. 3 points Q into Emax seems to be like the standard way to play Karma now. It gives her the damage she needs early on and then allows her to get the points in E to provide value for the ADC. And then shield up time being, the movement speed on the shield being increased from 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. Also very nice for just helping map mobility and your ADC being able to chase kills. Karma moves up to the B tier, a solid option once again. Bard has been underperforming it for a bit ever since they did the changes to him to try to push him away from like the durability Bard more towards some like AP and possibly even like an RFC purchase. It did hurt him a bit, and yeah, he's definitely felt it. He is not as oppressive as he once was. He's not as consistently able to like 1v1. I mean, he can't really 1v1 marksman anymore, which is what was one of the big problems with him before. Obviously, Bloodsong was really oppressive. It was like twice as good as it is currently, back when Bard was really strong. And yeah, I'd recommend still primarily going the tank variations, picking up a Slay, and then playing on your utility. He tends to be a bit of a harder champion to pull off, and yeah, he sits at the back end of the B tier. Nico, solid AP option. If you're looking for someone pretty oppressive early, kind of similar to Karma in the snare, well, not so the snare, just like the oppressive nature early on. The snare obviously incredibly valuable. It's a very long ability, long snare to have, especially if you cast it through a target. On top of this, her ultimate, great team fighting tool. Her W, great for vision, great for map control. There's definitely a lot of value to this pick. It just tends to be a bit harder to pilot. It doesn't have as much success in mid elo as some of the other picks on this list. Camille, very early game skewed pick. It tends to be pushed back towards Qmax, I believe, now. Emax was what you were primarily going in the support role. It might be a case that you can kind of alternate between, depending on what you really value within that lane, whether you value your hook shot and being able to consistently land that, or whether you value the chase with Q. It kind of differs. Obviously, Camille got nerfed because of top lane Camille overperforming. It doesn't directly hit support Camille, but she still sits in the B tier. She's still a solid option if you are relatively proficient at playing the pick and you're looking for a single target champion within your draft. It can definitely be valuable there. Pantheon, definitely a lot better in the support with the changes which came his way in 14.11. The W obviously got pushed towards max health. The E gave him a bit more durability, helps him on lower income builds. The W obviously used to be very much skewed for like aggressive AD ratio. And being pushed away from that definitely does help for low income builds, and support tends to get a little less income, so does help here. Solid B tier option. Morgana, this champion requires setup. If you obviously get the setup, then it can be very valuable. The damage is fine, like it's not as good as the likes of Zyra brands, stuff like that, but it's passable. Obviously, if you're able to stay ahead of the curve, you can definitely get value out of this pick. If you fall behind, you're mostly just playing on your snare, and if you don't have follow-up, then it can be really hard to get a huge amount of value out of this pick, and then you lose a lot of value in the champion. Black Shield doesn't tend to be what you play around this pick so much anymore, but it is still a factor, and you can get value out of it. But she sits in the B tier for the moment. Pyke, obviously very elite skewed AD champion, very reliant on snowballing, and if you're able to consistently get that, then he can definitely climb up the tier list. If you're not able to find these angles, I'd recommend just avoiding Pyke. He tends to be a bit harder to pilot within a lot of the games. There are things which can answer him, and there are just better, more consistent options. Mumu, very easy to play champion. That's a lot of his merit within the support role. The build obviously isn't as strong as it used to be. The loss of like Even Shroud and Radiant Virtue has definitely hurt this pick. But there are still options in like your Locket, your Knights, your Zeke, stuff like this. They can all work on a Mumu, and he's a solid B tier option, mostly just for his ease of play. Renata, there have been some build options. I've seen like the Warmogs picking up popularity within competitive, just across the board on a lot of supports. It's not a thing you can go every game. I really would recommend avoiding building it in every game. Like Locket and Knights do have incredible value if you can find the right angles. Like if you're playing into something like a Karthus, don't go Warmogs. Go something like Locket and just provide so much value for the team. If you can get a good Locket off against Carthazol, it can really like do a lot to mitigate the impact that has. But yeah, in Renata's case, Locket, Redemption, Knights, you can go Warmogs, but yeah, there are options there. She's a solid B tier option. You're primarily going Guardian on this pick. Teemo. Teemo, very low elo skew pick. Like, he is something which I'd only ever recommend playing, like, Emerald below. That is just the nature of the champion. The higher up you go, the more people understand how to play against his traps, the, like, effect this champion has. Try to avoid his blind. And it's good against champions which are very reliant on auto attacking. If you're paired, or if you're playing against a Yuumi and enemy marksman, obviously reliant on auto attacking, something like a Lucian, something like a Sivir maybe not Sivir, Social obviously has value there, but yeah, if you can get value as with Teemo's bind, because you're usually Q-maxing when you're playing him support, then he can definitely have value in the draft, and he does scale very aggressively. There's definitely value to this pick. Just very low elo skewed, but he's a solid B tier option. Alistar, not as successful as some of the other tanky options within the support role, but he definitely does have merit when you get the right pairings. Obviously, Tristana, Samira tend to be that kind of space. Trailblazer, I believe, works quite nicely as an item on this pick, and then yeah, things like Zeke's can also work quite nicely. He's a solid B tier option. Galio, also a solid B tier option, tends to be a bit more niche. Very good mid laner at the moment. Some of his value does obviously come from his flex potential. You can flex him mid, you can flex him support. And yeah, there is power here. He definitely got some love with the changes not too long ago to like push a mid Galio towards tankier variants. And then yeah, you can go like your tankier builds, your WMAX, Locket, Knights, stuff like that, and you should find success. Galio, solid B tier option. Shrelia, also a nice option on this champion. Moving on to the A tier, we have Lulu. Lulu, great enchanter if you pair her with the right like attack speed pairings. Obviously, you want to get value out of Polymorph. You want to get value out of her W. Run the likes of Ardent on this champion, and yeah, you should find success if you're pairing her with an attack speed marksman. If you're not, I'd recommend avoiding Lulu. She's primarily advantageous when you are pairing her with attack speed. Shen, not a bad support option. Once again, Shen, Tarm paired with each other. Both these champions primarily low elo skewed when you go heart still. They have value high elo when you're playing them more supportive. It tends to like fluctuate the build a bit. Low elo, play more for yourself, play around heart still, and then obviously have supportive outputs. High elo, play around team. That is like gonna be your main goal there. Maokai, very easy to play support option. Obviously, Ult has great setup, E has great vision control, W point and click CC, very cookie cutter champion. Trailblazer, great option on this pick, and yeah, he's a solid A tier champion. Vel'Koz, good harass mage. Once again, I would recommend playing Xerath over Vel'Koz, but he is still fine in the support role. They bumped his damage up not too long ago, and yeah, he's been performing a lot better since that. Seraphine, good support. We've actually started seeing it in competitive, and there are definitely strong pairings. Obviously, Ashe with the slows can be really nice to play Seraphine with, but overall, her build tends to be pretty enchanter skewed. You're going like your Echoes of Helia. Ardent can be really nice. Moonstone obviously tends to be pretty cool on this champion, and yeah, Rylai as well, really nice for like setting up your E if someone else can't really set it up for you. Pick's good. Lux, also a great burst mage. Once again, tends to be a bit better in the mid lane. You do want a lot of eco on economy on this pick and gold on this pick, and yeah, you should be really powerful with that. Xerath once again tends to fit a bit better here, but she's still a really solid pick. And if you can get synergy with her Q, the likes of Caitlyn, for example, then yeah, solid A tier pick. Rakan, still a good pick. Xayah getting buffed in 14.13 should really help him. I could honestly see him bumped up to the S tier with just how common that pairing does become when Xayah is strong. The Xayah changes are nice, but yeah, Rakan for the moment is a good A tier pick. You can find success on this champion. Twitch is another one which was finding success with Rakan and can still currently find success with Rakan, and yeah, you should be good to go. But the pick values things like Trailblazer, Knight's Vow, Locket, supportive, tanky bruiser tanky options, and yeah, you should be good to go with this champion. Shaco, great for his control. Obviously, AP Shaco is primarily what you play in support role. I have seen some AD Shacos. Obviously, if you go AD, you are incredibly early game skewed. If you're going AP, you're incredibly late game and control based. And AP Shaco is good when enemy team has a lot of melees, and it's really hard to disarm his boxes. And yeah, it provides a lot of control around objectives on the map. Shaco, good A tier pick. Nautilus and Fresh are my A tier hook champs. I'm going to put Blitzcrank next to him as well. Blitzcrank got nerfed this patch. He now drops in alongside both these two picks. Fresh, really good. If you're a high skilled Fresh player, then you can find a lot of success on this champion at the moment. He's in a very good spot. Once again, you can like alternate between skill max order, what order you max your skills in. Q, W, E, all very strong skills. E, if you're not able to consistently land Q, can be a very solid option early on into the game. And yeah, Q is usually your bread and butter. They've buffed it quite a bit to make it so it's primarily going to be your first skill order, and he's in a good spot. Blitz with the nerf, obviously, did take a bit of a hit. He now drops onto the A tier. And Nautilus tends to... I'm pretty sure Nautilus is the second most popular support in the game after Lux at the moment. There's a good reason for it. Obviously, the point and click ultimate, the very much like he is the go-to hook champion in the bot lane. But there are answers to Nautilus. He is not the winning pick in a lot of situations. He is just a very good facilitator of champions like Kaiser, who are also very popular. But yeah, Braum is a great option into Nautilus. Like if you're looking for a good counter pick, or you're looking for something to ban Nautilus, ban Braum, and then yeah, you should be good to go for the most part on this pick. Other than that, we have Zilean in the A tier. Once again, this is primarily like your Guardian and like your tankier variant, where you're primarily maxing W and E and just playing more as a YouTube bot. You could have of course, still go like AP kind of builds with like Shrelia and stuff, and play around your Q. However, it's less consistent. It's not as easy to play. You're obviously relying on hitting your skill shot, but he's still a very solid A tier option. For enchanters, we have Soraka and Milio. Milio tends to be a bit more prohibited by some of his pairings. He's not as good as Soraka, generalistically, but when Soraka isn't as good with certain champions, but when you do have good pairings with these picks, they are very much like S-tier champions. They're just not as flexible as some of the picks in the tier above. Whether that's because they don't have the carry potential or they lack the pairings, stuff like that. But yeah, Milio, really good with like Lucian, really good synergy there. There are other really good synergies for this pick as well. In Soraka's case, Ashe is what I'd recommend for Soraka. Yeah, these two picks go really nicely together. And then the other pick in the A tier is Zac. He is obviously being nerfed in 14.13, but he's still a very good support. Obviously can work quite well on low economy. Tends to just go like primarily supportive tank options. You can like alternate between like 3 points Q max E or 3 points E max W, not max Q, 3 points W max E, 3 points E max W. There are options there if you're looking for a bit more damage or you're looking for a bit more engaged range. Yeah, he's a solid A tier pick. Moving on to the S tier. So we have there's one pick I do need to add on. So LeBlanc, I'm adding onto the B tier. There's a bit of a, okay, so LeBlanc's pick rate has obviously increased quite a bit this patch. Obviously, it's gaining popularity as a support option. It might be an A tier pick. It could very much be deserving of a spot there, but with it being kind of niche, not too popular, there does need to be a bit of refining there. And if people do pick up onto it, it could definitely drop down a bit. Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, it's something I will revisit in 14.13 and kind of do a deep dive on like what really makes this pick work. But she's definitely got a lot of base damage going for her. She relies a bit more on gold, less on level. So yeah, there's definitely value there. For the moment, I'm going to leave her in B tier. Might be something kind of akin to Zoe support when that used to be quite popular, where you could really operate on very limited on XP, but like if you get the kills and get snowballing, then you're very hard to shut down. That is what I imagine this pick to kind of be. But for the moment, I'm going to put her in the B tier. She could definitely be an A tier pick, though, especially if you do put the games into the champion. Leona, obviously tenacity has been nerfed down quite a bit, taken completely out of the rune system, bar the minor rune, which gives you 10%. Has definitely really helped Leona. Of course, Leona also got buffed beginning of last split, I believe. And yeah, she's been in a good spot since. A very solid S tier option. Nami, great pairing with obviously like Corki, Karthus, Lucian. There's so many good pairings, actually. It would be hard to name them all. And yeah, Nami, with her buffs, got put in a great spot. She is a great S-tier pick. If you're looking for carries, once again, Zyra, Brand are your go-to. These two champions are very good flex picks as well. Obviously, Zyra Jungle has started seeing play. In Brand's case, he is a good jungler, a good APC, a good mid laner. decent support. Support might even be his weakest role, but yeah, he's still really good here. Great S tier option, good carry, and yeah, great S tier pick. Rylai tends to be your primary core on both these two picks here, and then you can opt into things like Leandri. If you're looking for a bit more range, a bit more burst potential, then Xerath is the go-to here. I'd really recommend playing Xerath at the moment. He is in a great spot. Braum is a great answer to a lot of the engage options at the moment. Really does struggle into Enchanter. Like, you can't really blind Braum at the moment, but he is a great answer. Good S tier, well, very good S tier pick. Janna, once again, good into engage. If you can utilize your Q, utilize your E with like a good AD option. On top of this, like, your W provides a lot of harass. It can be really obnoxious to play with against his champion's rooms. She is very deserving of an S tier spot. Rel, also in a really good spot at the moment. High itemization with likes of Locket, Knights, Zeke's, all really good at the moment. Trailblazer, also a very nice option on her. On top of this, she has good pairings. Very deserving of an S tier spot. Sona, controversial, I know, but like, Sona is in a very good spot at the moment. Like, you should really be playing this champion if you are very proficient at playing enchanters. She is probably the best go-to enchanter, I'm willing to say. And yeah, very much if you put the games in, like, you're going like your 3 points Q into W max, or even maxing Q and then W maxing, especially if you're very oppressive in laning phase, it can be something you opt into. Has loads of strong pairings, very deserving of an S tier spot. And Tarek is the other S tier champion. He is still a very good spot, obviously very unpopular. Does tend to like limit his data, but like Knight's Vow, Locket, both these items really good on him. And then you have a lot of the other options. He's a good user of Fimbulwinter, good user of Frozen Heart. Slay tends to be primarily what you go. And yeah, he is in a great spot, a great answer to engage options as well. And then once again, Solo S plus pick is Poppy. Her popularity has obviously gone up quite a bit now. She is now primarily played as a support, which is good. This pick is great in her current state. She should primarily be used as an anti-engage option, but she is good just generally at the moment. And yeah, it makes her overpowered. Once again, Hail Blades, Blood Song, Deadman's, I believe Trailblazer can be something to opt into, Symbiotic Souls or Swifties, and you should be good to go. Poppy, primarily the pick I would recommend at the moment, but there are loads of good options, and yeah, those are my thoughts on the support tier list. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.